Welcome to the After Action Report, Damon Rockwell Trading Session 1. If you're watching this in a video form, you'll find a link down below where you can actually read this as an actual article or a blog post on the website. There'll also be a downloadable PDF. Damon's already received this in advance, so he's already gone through this or already read it. And this is just so others can benefit from the Rockwell Trading Session. Now, I'll be talking over the actual session, so we took the audio out. Just thought that's the best way to create the video. This is kind of the first time we've done what we're calling Rockwell Trading Sessions. If you're an alpha and you'd like to participate in a Rockwell Trading Session, that's basically where we live stream, you trade, and I'm there as a fly on the wall, and then you'll get something like this, After Action Report. So in this, we'll be covering the contents, the positives, the non-positives, the solution, concrete advice, and in closing. So let's start. This is the After Action Report for Rockwell Trading Session with Damon, Session 1. I'll start from a high level, and then we'll work down from the positives to the negatives, or what we call non-positives, with suggestions for next steps. I will say any grammatical or spelling errors, I just edited as well as I could. So anything that pops up, that's what you get. Look, I have limited time to work on things, so I try to make it the best I can. But if there is grammatical or spelling errors, just realize that I just didn't get to it. It's important to note that the tone of this document and its purpose. I'm direct in this document so that we don't waste time and we focus on improvement as quickly as possible. Please take any criticism or harsh judgment on my part. It's meant to communicate how to correct and improve in the quickest way possible. Look, each trader walks his or home path in this journey. That means that they know how to take criticism and praise, and they know how to self-correct. And they do this through the lens of making the Rexdog trade system their own. I completely understand if you ignore suggestions because you know who you are. You know what it's going to take for you to take the foundation of the best trade system on the planet and make it even better by making it your own best trade system on the planet. As I reflect on the overall session, there were multiple times I was a bit frustrated with the way you were executing and analyzing trade opportunities. To condense what would be multiple reasons, I think you've fallen into the common trap when learning anything new, especially a new trading system. You jump in with just enough knowledge to have a limited understanding on how to apply and operate in that environment. Or to put it another way, you know some things, but you don't realize that what you don't know is a hindrance to your success. I have figured out much of this for you already. You don't need to figure it out. It's in the system. It's in the training. I know you have an engineering and technical background, and I bet there's a part of you that probably feels like you get it on a conceptual level and you'll figure it out along the way. I suggest for most cases and most things in life that probably has served you well. Here's the challenge with trading. Just about everything else you learn in life, it typically provides you with ongoing positive feedback. Since I think you understand programming, just imagine if you were learning a program language and for 3 months you try to compile it and it just a simple hello world program. And every day for those 3 months it fails to compile. Plus you don't receive any error messages. How long would you continue to get that program to work? Or would you move on to another programming language? And just imagine that you didn't have access to Stack Overflow or nowadays ChatGPT. It's not a perfect parallel, but trading is like this. Trading is different from anything else you typically try to accomplish because often the feedback you get is consistent negative feedback. It's like this until one day you've made all the mistakes you could and you learn how not to repeat them constantly. And then you start to get consistent positive feedback. I bring this up because you're in a tremendous danger zone the way you're currently trading. You're getting both positive and negative feedback. And the challenge is you're most likely not benefiting from the lessons they provide. Just saying this is from my assessment. I could be completely off base. Then obviously ignore what I'm saying. But I'd like you to consider what I've just shared as I continue. Now the positives. Your ability to cut a position that's not working in your favor will serve you as you become an elite trader. It takes traders a while to be able to naturally adopt this type of behavior. It appears you are past the hard part of making this happen for you. This is more positive than negative, and the obvious negative is that you don't stick with trades long enough, but we'll get to that later. The next positive is that you have a good handle on fundamental price action. But this will play into the negatives that we'll talk about below. Overall, your ability to read and assess the chart from question prompts tells me that you're visually able to read the charts rather well. The P&L that you shared at the end of the day was green. I didn't go through an analysis or deep statistics on that, but at present, I'm confident you probably have more consistent green days than red, if you have any red days at all. We talked a bit about the test, we talked before the test stream and the actual stream, and during the stream, your mindset and psychology are right for the ability to reflect and self-correct, so I'm confident there. I look for this to be present in traders because it's a good gauge for conquering the various plateaus and mountains that you'll climb. Now let's dive into the non-positives. The non-positive, it's obvious that you probably have half the knowledge you should to trade the system properly. There were various times I prompted you for questions, and the answer should have been almost immediate. It took you a while to get close to the solution. These aren't arbitrary questions. These are questions that have very distinct answers. For instance, when I prompted you on the 60-minute golden time frame, there is a straightforward answer you should have answered immediately. Also, your failure to use the 4-chart setup, or chart 4, I should say, in total means you've ignored using the information provided by what we call the structure of the market. You need to correct this almost immediately. At the end, I'll share how to make all this happen. The other major issue is that your trades were just too late, or in most cases, the real challenge is you weren't trading at the reaction areas. You waited too long after the reaction, expecting the reaction would continue. Many of your trades were already 60 to 70% over, if not more. You weren't using the predictive nature of the trade system that you're trading. There are a few more things, but they don't really need to be covered because my recommendation, if taken, will solve them. One last thing here. The 2 instances where you entered the trade at the right location, you simply didn't have patience to stick with the trade. One time I might have prompted you, and that may have affected your patience. So that was my fault. You caught the best momentum trade of the day using chart 4 around the RDA, but you simply did not stick to it. The one where I intervened, I should have explained why I intervened. I knew you were down for the day in that trade, basically a series of trades and you were down. And you were putting your stop loss way too tight. Now, when I saw that your stop loss was too close, I realized you'd get stopped out. And I figured, look, instead of just making 40 or less, maybe you should just get out and make that 100 or 110 that you were at. That way you'd get back positive quicker and it wouldn't let the pressure of a red day affect your trading going forward. Now, maybe it didn't play a factor, but I know this from streaming. When you're putting yourself out there in the world, you don't really want to fail. My advice should have been to move your stop loss above your entry and give it room and time, because that's the right way to trade in that situation. But I didn't really want to intervene that much because I wanted to see you in the natural state, or how you naturally trade, so to speak. So let's get on to the solution. I'd suggest that you take a step back from trading and go through a couple core segments of the training if you haven't already. I'll send you links to the training, but at a high level, here's what will get you 90% of the knowledge you need. I'd bet that after you do this, and if we did another stream in a month, it would be night and day as far as your execution and management of trades. Here's the next steps. Watch the full 4-chart section. That means that 4-chart section that's up there in the training. You need to watch all those videos. If you haven't, I would suggest you revisit them. Watch Trading the Tick Charts. That provides really the everything you need to know about reading the tick charts properly. Then I suggest you watch the recap section. If you have a full grasp on the concept, so there's video modules there, then just move on to the next training video module. The recap section will help you with higher time frame analysis, trading with and around alpha candles, and proper identifying of levels. Next, I would suggest you dive into the pattern library, and if you haven't, and I think you said you hadn't, you must watch the strong level pattern. You must be watching strong levels on chart 4. It's critical. The information that chart 4 gives you doesn't exist in many other trade systems. And it is the structure of the market, and in the videos that you'll watch, you'll understand the power of it. The next one I would suggest you watch is the RDA test pattern. That will apply to RDA tests. Obviously, you executed some of those trades. Also, that concept applies to momentum trades. So the momentum training module, the entry for entering on momentum, that's in the entries section. But we will be releasing an updated entries pattern just because there's a couple just things we want to add. Now, for other aspects of the training, what I suggest you do based on just where you're at is read over the page, maybe start the video, watch the first 1 to 3 minutes or jump around the video, and you'll see whether or not you want to watch it or there's actually information in there that you think you should dive deeper because it will increase your edge. And that's really the training. I'd suggest if you did that, that's the missing components that I saw that, and maybe you already did. So if you've already watched them, I would suggest you revisit them because it wasn't apparent to me, at least watching, that you, and I know you said you just started 30 days. So this is, this first Rockwell session was with someone that it probably much sooner than I would anticipate for 30 days. But you also have experience in the market. So that's why I was willing to do it, because you weren't just someone that just started trading 30 days ago. You have a lot of experience in the market. So, being able to trade the system was just how do you apply, or how do you use some of your experience and apply the system. So let's cover with this concrete advice, which is outside of training. This is the end. You need to learn how to scale into trades properly. This appears to be the type of trader you are. You need to, I would suggest, I know that you want to trade the NQ, and probably because you see the larger dollar numbers, I would suggest you actually trade the MNQ, because you have to teach yourself how to scale in properly. And unless you're going to do it on the NQ, meaning that you need to be trading in lots of 3, unless you're doing that, then you have to build that skill. So you either do it in NQ and you take greater risk, or you do it in the MNQ and you scale up to 9 to 12 lots. So trade in 3s. So it's one or the other. And I know you pay more fees with the MNQ, but if you're following the advice that we've already talked about, that won't matter because you'll be trading the system properly. And that leads into the next thing. You should always know the room for the trade. So you should I should be able to ask you, and you should tell me the highest probability take profit 1 and 2 areas. You should know this before you execute the trade. You should just know it, and eventually you're going to just get good at just seeing it. But you don't execute a trade unless there's room for the trade, and you don't execute a trade unless you know the take profit and take profit 2. And of course, your third position, we trade in thirds around here. Your third position is a trail. That's the one that you want to be a runner or has the possibility to be a runner. The next thing is I would suggest you do what you're doing, which is stick with momentum trades until you master them. You'll know it when you master them because it'll just get so second nature to what you're doing that then you'll say, okay, now I'm going to try some fades. Now, the first fade trade that I suggest you even look at is the chart 4 strong level tests. That's the single best fade trade that exists in our system. If you do this, it really will amaze you how simple, elegant, and I dare say this, easy it is to trade the system. My frustration came because you strayed too far from that. And look, you're not alone. I have strayed a bit too far from the system as well. And I've talked about that many times on the stream. So this isn't something, advice that I'm giving this isn't a pill that I don't have to swallow as well. So before we get to the closing section, there is one more thing. There is a new rule that we'll be adding to the system, and this is based on just research and getting to the point of something to have a concrete rule. It's going to be based on the 80-20 axiom, and that basically 80% of your trades should be momentum, 20% should be fades. And those 20% fades need to be B+ or above, nothing below that. So in closing, I really enjoyed the session. I learned a ton. Much of this might seem like I focused on the negative, but you're well on your way to becoming an elite trader. When someone thinks like an engineer, sometimes, and I have this tendency, I think you have the ability to overcomplicate what should be simple. I think I shared with you that I once had a client that had this amazing ability. He could overcomplicate anything and everything. And he knew he could, and he knew that, and he just did it anyways. I mean, he could overcomplicate making an egg. Not just once, but every single time he made an egg. As a person that maybe thinks like an engineer, you want to figure out this stuff for yourself. And it might seem way too easy. Don't punish yourself with this. The goal here is to consistently and reliably pull capital from the market. If you overcomplicate this, one day you'll wake up after you've figured it all out, and you'll wonder why you made it so hard on yourself. So don't do that. Damon, I look forward to seeing you become an elite trader. You are on the right path.